Welcome. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
To another episode of Totally Local Podcast, a show about the Jersey Shore, where we explore the culture, the entrepreneurs, the local businesses, the art, and for the month of June, the music in and around Ocean and Monmouth County. Check us out on Facebook, Totally Local Podcast, on Instagram, Totally_local_podcast. Our website is totallylocalpodcast.com. Check out our show everywhere you get your podcast. We're live today from a Shared Universe podcast studio. Hello, Ming. Thank you for always being so gracious, so kind to us. I'm your host, Leo Mack. You can check me on Instagram, _Leo_Mac. If you're wondering why my intro is so long this week, this is how it's supposed to be. Introducing the show. My normal co-host likes to just run right into it.
I hear you.
Hey! Okay, my co-host for the day is the very funny, the hardest working comedian I know. You can catch him every Monday at Brighton Bar, Mr. Angelo Gingerelli.
What's going on, Leo? Super happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me this week.
Oh, I'm glad that you're here. This is going to be a fun episode. We have been doing Music Month all month long. I want to thank everybody who's come on to help with Music Month. We had DJ Mike Merrill, very good friend of the show. Saw him on Monday. He came on our first week. Then we had DJ Uncle's nephew, very good friend of mine as well, Colin Carhart, and Princess of Tides. And we saw them on Monday. That was a lot of fun. But we said, now how could we possibly end Music Month on a bang? And there was only one way. So when I had my first podcast, I was a baby, and we used to broadcast.
Is this what it's like?
Excuse me.
Is this what it's like? Because you haven't even said.
I'm introducing the guest now.
All right.
I had my first podcast, and one day we were doing a show called Top Five, and we were talking about music, and we did a hip hop episode, and my guest busted out some rhymes and surprised me. It was incredible, and I heard he had an album coming out. I knew I had to get him on the show to close down Music Month here at Totally Local Podcast, and I want to welcome Mr. Nude Curtis.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Hey, Leo, man, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I've been on this show twice. You're almost 40 episodes in. I've listened to almost all 40 at this point.
Wow,
I'm
you're a
big fan.
trooper.
I like everything you guys did for Music Month. And every time I'm booked on the show, I worked with you. We set it up. You do the booking of the guests, correct?
I do a lot of that.
When you guys go profile different towns, like when you did My Town of Long Branch, I saw you twice in my show, which I really appreciate. I saw you out and about amongst the people profiling Long Branch. I know you did the same for
I'm a man of the people.
And every week you guys do Pizza Quest, where you're eating a ton of pizza, turning the best pizza slices to the shore, and you're working hard and dozens of slices of pizza a week. Now, my question is this.
Yes.
What exactly does Andrew do at the show? From what I can tell, all he brings to the table is he's friends with Mike Merrill.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good question. I've poisoned myself eating rotten pizza. If you heard the last couple of episodes, I'm on the street doing Coastline Tour. Shout out to Elbron. There really is nothing there. It's a gig that I love doing. That is a really good question.
I'm not saying you should trim the fat and do this by yourself.
Oh, I could
and
never
cut the pie one way, but it might be something to think about.
Yeah. I think I could hold it down. I think my intro shows that I have the skill level to at least announce it.
Oh, boy.
Hello, Mr. Nude Curtis. How are you?
Hello, Leo. Hello, Angelo. Bringing up a lot of good points. A lot of good talking points.
Very happy to have you here.
Great, man. Hey, Nude Curtis, I heard the new album. I really like it. I appreciate me access to it early.
Cool.
I think I have two questions that I had immediately when I got the files. One, can you explain the name Nude Curtis and the title of the project, A Season in Hell?
I can do that. Anyone that wants to know anything about the album too, because it's not officially out yet, can go to nudecurtis.com. Don't misspell that, because I don't know what you'd end up with. And a funny thing is that if you do Google right now, I hope to change this, but like when you Google it right now, Nude Curtis, it's all about Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs. So I hope to change that. But anyway, I put up a link so that you guys could follow it, and it'll take you to a form and people can fill it out. And once the album's all ready and good to go, it'll be there. Anyway, Nude Curtis started out kind of as like it's so funny because stuff gets like layered, and I really look at things non-linearly. Like sometimes you come up with an idea and then you're like, what does that mean? And then when you're done with it, you're like, oh, this is what it means. But I mean, it initially started as a joke between me and my friend, and it was this persona. When I used to DJ as Andrew Top Hat, he kind of came up with this. I think he did it, but like we were chatting back and forth, like on like Instant Messenger or in Google Chat or whatever. And it was like this persona of like the DJ that like is getting drunk. There's like hot girls behind the booth. They're just having a great time. They're not very good, but like everybody loves the crappy, stupid music they're playing. And it was just this idea of this persona that like didn't really give a shit. And that's kind of like where I took it, and kind of took it in a different direction. Plus, I'm really like uncomfortable with myself in certain ways, especially being naked. One time I was up at the hot springs up in New Mexico, and they have all these hot springs everywhere. And I remember my friends like convincing me. They're like, come on, dude, everybody, you know, we're all in the woods, you know, let's get naked.
That's weird.
They're like, oh, we're going to smoke weed and get naked and go in these hot springs, which is basically like just a fucking vat of bacteria just waiting to just crawl up your urethra. Oh. So, like, so we go up there, we get high, and personally, like, I can't really smoke a ton of weed. I don't really do it, especially not recently. Like, I don't. If I do, it's a very, very, very tiny amount, because it took me a long time to realize how uncomfortable and paranoid I get. So there I am in this hot spring, and I'm naked, and I'm not sitting with, like, Budweiser girls. It's, like, two really old hippies, you know? Men. Yeah. And, like, I was just sitting there uncomfortable. So the idea of, like, Nude Curtis, this persona of somebody that's, like, comfortable and in, like, all these different situations, I just thought it was funny, and it's not something that I would normally call myself because it's so awkward and, like, strange, but it also kind of talks more to like how the lyrics come about, or how the idea is just me being kind of just raw or naked or just honest, you know?
Yeah, I honestly, man, now that I know that, I like that juxtaposition. And I saw your persona was going to be Nude Curtis. I thought it was going to be more of like the party Jersey Shore bar A DJ with his shirt off guy.
See, that's what I was, yeah.
But then when you listen to the lyrics and the work you put into it, it's really more of the I'm naked and vulnerable and a real 360-degree person, not just a crazy DJ guy, which I think it's a cool way to kind of put both of those things against each other and show both sides of your personality.
Yeah, it was a real juxtaposition. And the more I worked on the album, I really wanted it to be, I would like to be that person that's like crazy and wild, and the songs are like, oh, I'm getting messed up. But like the more I worked on it, like the more I was like, that's not the stuff that came out. It always comes out cheesy. I'd love to be cooler, but it always comes out a little cheesier than, you know, what I expect. So I just kind of accept that and go with it.
And what's up with A Season in Hell? Why that title for the album?
Well, have you ever seen... So this started off, like the album, as other things I've worked on, started off as like a concept album, and like kind of like the name that I go by, like it kind of evolved from there. But you ever see the Michael Pere classic, Eddie and the Cruisers? From the 80s?
Actually have not. Leo, have you?
I have not.
Well, no. I grew up on, like, being an 80s baby. Like, my parents got, like, HBO, like, back when HBO had the weird, like, controller thing with the 3, like, switches, and you hit the
plugged
buttons.
in the TV. It's pre-remote control.
Yeah,
right?
and you could kind of, like, mess with it and get, like, between channels, you know, some static, hopefully some porn, but it never really worked for me. Anyway, I used to watch HBO all the time, and they'd play Eddie and the Cruisers all the time. And there's, in the movie, Eddie and the Cruisers, the movie starts off with like way in the future, like the 80s, and apparently this dude from Eddie and the Cruisers, this fictional band, drove himself off a bridge. A lot of the scenes take place in New Jersey. The town that like they were coming up in the 60s or whenever they were making their music was Asbury Park. And I thought it would be and then there's a sequel to it that's not very good, but like I like all kinds of crappy movies and stuff that talks about, like, spoiler alert, like they tell you, well, spoiler alert, that he comes back to life and like he kind of reemerges. So like I'm getting there. Don't worry, Leo. Like, I'm getting there. Well, you know what? I'm the guest, so screw you. I can talk.
All I can do is make facial expressions.
Wait, so are you saying that The Crow is a sequel to Eddie and the Cruisers?
Pretty much. It's a better sequel.
That's a shared universe? Am I right? A shared universe?
Putting the plugs in. So anyway, basically this guy kills himself, and they're looking the whole movie. They're looking for this album that he recorded, and it's called A Season in Hell. But they don't know where it is, and they want to make money off it, and these people are looking for it. And I thought it'd be interesting to do like a concept album around that. The idea of like kind of like I used to make music a lot, and then I stopped, and I had this whole other life. You know, I moved away from New Jersey. I had this whole other life, and then I came back around here, and now I'm working on this. And I was going to take samples from the movie and do all this crazy stuff, but the more I got into the project, the less I wanted to get in trouble for copyright infringement. And I was like, where did he get that name for the album in the movie? And he got it from this poet, like they explain it in the movie. They got it from this poet named Rimbaud, who was like alive like back in the day, like I don't know, 1800s, maybe earlier than that, I can't remember. And he wrote this I think it's all he wrote this poem. It was like a series. It was called A Season in Hell. And it's like this guy had this really interesting life where he faked his own death. He like moved away from his home in France, and then he was staying in England, and he went like to Africa or Morocco or somewhere. He met Selassie I, like the Jamaican, you know, second coming, and like he lived this whole crazy interesting life. And he kind of at a certain age, he just kind of said, F it, I don't care about any of this stuff, about any of the poetry, anything that I'm doing, and he kind of left it all behind. And he also wrote this like really long poem called A Season in Hell, and it's like influenced a lot of people, and it's a really crazy, weird poem. So I kind of took the idea from there, and it started to become much like the name Nude Curtis. It kind of became like I went through, and I'm not like everyone's got their problems and stuff, but I like went through all this stuff when I kind of moved back here, and I feel like I've kind of like come out of it. And you can't really you can't call a season in hell until you've gone through it. So all the stuff that's kind of happened between me moving back to New Jersey and now, I consider it like a blessing, but it was like really difficult.
Would you mind keeping your answers under 20 minutes?
I can't. Okay. I mean, you know, it was hard keeping the songs under, you know.
So I had the album for the last 36 hours or so. I've given it 3 or 4.
Apologies for not having the
Oh, listen, it's fine. I was pleasantly surprised.
That's great. That's a great review.
It definitely
3 mics from
It
Leo.
definitely builds as it goes along. So I was enjoying it more and more as I listened to it. Mm-hmm. The question I have for you is what comes first? Was it making music? Was it realizing that you can rhyme? Was it I have an idea for something I want to try, and you went out there and just gave it a shot? Like what was the beginning of this process for you?
That's a very good question, Leo. You're really good. You're like a natural.
I've done my homework.
Okay. The process is like all over the place, kind of. Sometimes I'll come up with a concept for the lyrics, but mostly I have the instrumentals done. And as I worked on this album, I had old instrumentals with older lyrics on it. And as the process went on, I kind of cut a bunch of those because they didn't really fit anymore. What I started doing was I just started doing this on a lark. Like I started making instrumentals because I like to make music. And I was like, what if I approach it from that like Nude Curtis kind of perspective of just being like, F it, I'm just going to make this. I'm not going to use all those personal editing, like that voice you have in your head that tells you don't do stuff. I'm like, I'm going to shut that off, and I'm just going to do stuff. And when I make the beats, I'm going to make them minimal because I used to make them so I just throw so much crap on there, and then it just got all muddy. So after that point, I had these beats, and I would just listen. I didn't know what I was going to do with them, but I'd listen to them. I'd drive around, I'd be listening to them, and then I would just start freestyling, coming up with stuff. So I guess it's easier for me to have the beat first. I can make up a song on the spot, whether it's good or bad. Lyrically, you know, that's questionable, but if you give me a beat, I could do something on it.
Nice. Are the beats all your productions, or with anybody else?
They're not all. They're like collaborations for the most part. Oh man, I wanted to write down. I wanted to write down everybody. There's this dude. The one that I really didn't touch at all was by this guy Scotty Trimble, who he did. Oh man, I'm gonna put all the information on the comments. But there's this dude Chechi, I think is his name. I'm friends with a bunch of hip hop heads. I'm not a hip hop head. I'm not like, you know, just immersed in like the independent hip hop culture. But there was this dude named Chechi years and years and years ago who got busted by the cops because somebody like narked him out and said he had a bunch of pot in his house, and they raided his house and took all his shit, and he went to jail. But he didn't have any weed in his house, and he had to go to jail, and it was really messed up. So they did this like GoFundMe fundraiser thing for him, and one of the prizes was this dude Scotty Trimble, who goes by like 6'0" or 6'2". He had part of it, and he was like, give me this money and I'll make you a beat. So that was probably the first one on that's probably the oldest one at this point on the album. And he actually I've been working on this for a few years now, like shout out to my wife who actually got me to finish it. But as I was finishing it, I needed the wave file to get, I wanted to mix it down and stuff. But rest in peace, Scotty like passed away in a freak dirt bike accident in Texas. He died of heat exhaustion. He was like I guess he did like what is it called, motocross or whatever he did. He was in the woods in fucking Texas in the summer, and he died. And I actually was writing back and forth with his wife to try to find these tracks, the stems for the tracks, and she couldn't find them, which kind of sucks. So anyway, to answer your question, he did one of them. Rest in peace. My friend Ian Scroggins, who's worked with me in the past, he's just a genius, and it's hard to like people that are really good with music, like musicians, and they're like super talented. Sometimes they're like nuttier than other people, and it's hard to like nail them down. So he was saying, oh yeah, I'll get you beats. He gave me this one of them. It was Finish This, and I really liked it. I added the samples and the build-ups and stuff on it, and then I worked with some producers who would take a sample and chop it up. And my process after that was like, I started to realize, because it's been so long since I made music, that you could just go on the internet and meet random people that are super, super talented. So on that song Gangway, when I was like, I want a saxophone on this song, I was like, I want to go find somebody that plays the saxophone. So I went online and I found somebody that played the saxophone, and they like, I don't care what anyone thinks about that song. I love that saxophone. Like, that saxophone's sweet. That guy knows what he's doing. So I would work with some people. They would like chop up a sample. I'd get it back. I'd talk to a saxophone guy or somebody else. They'd lay some stuff on it, and then I would start like pulling stuff out of it that I liked and like kind of remixing things. So the process is kind of like layered to the point where some of the songs, the original song, doesn't sound like that anymore, just because I started stripping stuff away.
I actually have a note right here in front of me that Gangway and that saxophone sample is probably my favorite audio thing on the album.
Yes.
Oh, it's really sounds really cool.
It's so smooth, man. I mean, I love Billy Joel. Like, I don't know if any hip hop fans out there love Billy Joel, but I love Billy Joel, and like, Billy Joel's The Stranger is a great album. There's saxophone on there, and I was just like, I want some. Like, I was like, I could feel some saxophone on this, and that's the dude. He went off. He just like, I was like, this is what I need. And he's like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, just feel it out, man. Just go for it. And he did, and I love that.
Yeah, it definitely works.
Yeah.
We started the show today. Want
some water?
I know, right? We started the show today with one of your songs, the theme from Nude Curtis. That's what we actually introed our show with today. And I have a couple of notes on some other songs, and I want to see what you think about maybe what your best lyrics are, what your favorite tune is.
They're all my children.
So here's some of the notes that I wrote.
Okay. He's really deep diving.
The first note is about this track that you have called Walk.
Uh-huh.
I thought that you really hit your lyrical summit.
You like
of
that
the
one?
whole it felt like that was the most complicated, that was the most detailed.
Oh, thank you.
I felt like and I wrote down, I said sounds sexy.
Ooh.
What do you think on the album is the height of your lyrical genius, let's say?
I don't want to say genius, but what's like the height?
Yeah, like the most complicated, like I really came out with something on that one. Like,
I think
complexity.
I think Gangway is it's really kind of simple, but lyrically that's like my favorite. Walk was a really tough one to kind of finish. I mean, Fresh Air, the first one on the album, that one too. I think those three probably are the ones that are. It's hard to say though, because some of them I think lyrically kind of the words might be simple, or it might be like a simple song, but like, to me, like, there's a lot of meaning behind it. But I would say those three, if I could narrow it down off the top of my head.
I have that the music on Highest Potential is awesome. And I thought Hook 'em and Cook 'em to me was the most catchy. And I put a note, I said cute. Cute and sexy are my words to describe it. But I thought it was cute. Like I could see myself, and I was going, Cook 'em and Cook 'em. Like I didn't know what you were saying, but I was like on the street, like, oh, yeah, da, da. And hopefully everybody who's listening will have the opportunity to hear these soon. I know that you're going to be performing one of your songs on our show today. Is that right?
I hope so. I mean, I hope it works. I hope I have the audio right on here, so we'll try it out and see. It's funny that you picked those because, you know, that ongoing editor in your head. I'm sure you experience this with like when you're writing stuff for comedy, but like there's this voice in your head that's like you come up with something and you like it, and then there's this voice in your head that's like, no, you're an idiot. That's stupid. And as I was working on the album, I was worrying about stuff where like, you know, there's certain people like say like an Action Bronson who like for the most part he doesn't really have a chorus. He just kind of raps the whole song out. And there's a bunch of songs on there where I just rap the whole song, like the whole, you know, the whole time. It's all verse, no chorus. And I was like, should I put stuff with a chorus on it? Should I not? Like, and then eventually I went back to the original concept, which was like, don't edit yourself, just do it, and then like decide when you have the songs in front of you, then decide. So like for those two, Hook 'em and Cook 'em, I wrote that one really fast, and I was like, wow, it's done. It's catchy. I like it. It talks about it like it's a story kind of based on a story that happened to me. Highest Potential, shout out to my wife again, who, you know, she's really made me a more spiritual person in general, and her like she's in all these groups and maybe you know because your wife's in the yoga community, she's in all these different groups about like earthy crystal yoga type groups, and there's this one concept of, you know, your highest potential, that these groups would talk about. And I've talked to I was talking to the person that actually officiated our wedding, Danielle Mercurio, shout out. She talked about it with me at one point, and I sat down with my wife on a plane ride, and I was talking to her about it. And as she was saying things, I was like writing it down. So like that song kind of, you know, she basically co-wrote that one. Yeah.
I felt like the album had like this underlying feeling of positivity. I didn't really feel like there was a negative space of anger, aggression. It was at most it went gray, not black or dark. And then I finished the album. I think it was the second listen, and I'm looking all over like, what is the name of this thing? And then I got to A Season in Hell, and I know that you have explained where you got the name from, but do you also recognize that your album would be the opposite of A Season in Hell?
Yeah, I mean, I think the juxtaposition of those concepts of like, you know, I to me it was like humorous. Like I think somebody that goes through, you know, quote unquote rough stuff or bad stuff in life, you could kind of either end up at the end of it like being worse off or just miserable, or you could kind of take those examples and like, you know, be happy. Like when I was a kid, and it's going to be on the album cover. The album cover is going to be this picture that my wife took of like, I think we were over the Belmar Bridge, and she took a picture of like the sky. It was all blue. Because when I was a kid, I just loved when it was sunny out. Like I just loved it. So like after you go through that season of hell, you know, you could kind of reflect on it and like come out of it hopefully with a more positive attitude, or at least a neutral attitude, kind of like what you were saying.
You know, kind of going through this and listening to it, it got me thinking about the origins of hip hop. And I remember watching documentaries on it over the last couple of years. A lot of hip hop starts with, you know, the culture in the 80s, people of color talking about the experiences that they see around them, the lives that they're living, and that brings inspiration. A lot of time pain can bring inspiration, which inspires you and pushes you to keep going. What really kept you sitting down focused? And I know from my interactions with you, getting you to sit down and focus on anything is a very big challenge.
Yeah.
What drove you to say, this is something I have to finish?
I think, I mean, the number one is my wife. Like, she motivated me. She's like the most positive influence on my life. And I just felt like it was something that I felt really passionate about, and I was like, I have to finish this to kind of close off a chapter as like a whole new life is gonna start, you know, when my baby's born. So I felt like it was just, I needed to finish it, and I needed to finish it soon, because I feel like there's just a whole new thing that's going to be happening after this point. So if I didn't do it now, it wouldn't be the same if I did it later. kind of a thing.
Yeah, you're definitely in for someone who's been through that. You're definitely in for a game changer.
Yeah. So when am I gonna have time to like sit down and write an album like that?
We gotta get a Nude Curtis baby shower.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm down for that.
Sweet.
Oh, I have another question to kind of springboard off that. That's where you were personally, and that's what internally led to the creation of the album, right?
Yeah.
How much did Leo talked about rapping about your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
How much did your surroundings and New Jersey and the Jersey Shore play into this album?
I mean, it definitely, being back home, that whole concept of like being back home, being back to where I'm from, dealing with these certain events that like me and my friends and my family have dealt with, people that I care about that passed away, people that I know that were struggling through like sickness or addiction, my mom's house getting like destroyed in Sandy and having to like figure all that out, and that idea of, just being around here and like this is where I'm from and this is where I feel most comfortable. I think all those things kind of culminated in me like putting this together and it for the sound that it has.
When people think about rap artists and hip hop, they think probably negatively so or stereotypically so of somebody of color, maybe living in an urban lifestyle. You are none of those things.
I'm from Highlands.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's kind of gross and poor down there. So.
I'm
still white though. Yeah, I can't.
Do you have any sort of fear now releasing this album, performing this album with what people think that they're going to see and what they actually see, or are you embracing that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes along with the name of the album and my, stage name, as it were. But no, not at all. I mean, the whole concept was to just do it, and I have I have this whole background too, where back in Albuquerque. Shout out to the Tubers. My friends Colin and Luke had a group, and we used to like put together events and put together shows, and they were super encouraging of the stuff that I was doing. And there was this whole group that I was on like the periphery of, like I wasn't like a main person, but they were so inclusive. I actually got to open up for Jean Grey, like she was out there, and I produced a song, and they actually asked me to be on it and then perform it with them, which was super cool. The whole after coming out of that and after that whole personal editor like that's inside me coming up with all the things I could say or think about that is wrong with everything I do, like if people wanted to say something, I think I'm at a certain point in life where if you listen to it and you don't get it, then that's okay too. Just listen to something else.
Also, I heard a rumor that Jean Grey, the rapper, is actually taking this year off of music because that Dark Phoenix movie is so bad. She doesn't want her name affiliated whatsoever.
Oh, don't say it's bad.
I heard it's real bad. I don't know if that's true at all, but
Yeah.
I think she hasn't been putting out this year yet, so she might be like, let me let that black cloud over my name move away.
Yeah,
and 2020, I'll come out with something else.
Yeah.
That makes me upset. So we talked a lot about this album. When is the actual release date? When are you going to put this out there, perform it? Anything upcoming that you want to talk
Release
about?
parties.
Release parties.
I don't know how that's the other thing too. Like the last time I made an album, like CDs were the way you made an album. So as far as I could tell, you put it on like Spotify, you put it on like Bandcamp or whatever. So I don't really even know what an album release actually consists of. But anyway, I'd like to get it out in July. Shout outs to Joe Santos, who he actually helped me produce the album, record the vocals. He's helping me mix everything down. His computer exploded. That's why everything's kind of late. We got it back working. We got all the stuff recorded. So I think July it's going to be released. And then epic shouts to Colin Carhart because he's going to help me put together a show at the Saint. I think we were thinking sometime in August.
And are you going to have Nude Curtis T-shirts for everybody to wear?
I think we're going to do. Well, you could buy them there. I don't know if you'll, if you make your own, but if you
make
want to
my
go
own.
and put it on, yeah.
If you need anybody to announce you
Mm-hmm.
at your, debut live show to bring you out,
Yeah.
I'm charging $50, and I'll do it. So
Okay.
I'm really cheap.
Okay. Sure.
So I know you want to do. We want the audience to hear some of this.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a lot about it. I've listened to it. Angelo's listened to it. What are you gonna play for us? Rap for us? Perform for us today?
I'll just play stuff. I'll play. You want me to? Let me see. I don't know if the instrumental's gonna be loud enough for me to do it. So I'm just gonna play. I'll play the album. I'll play the song. What do you think?
I think you should do what you want to do.
Let me see.
Nude Curtis.
Let me see.
And Finish This. I said Finish This was the most complete body of work. I really like that song too.
While you're looking, I'll do my top 3. I like the way it started with Fresh Air, kind of drew me into when you want to hear the rest of it. I love Gangway, I said before, and I think Highest Potential lyrically is really cool.
All right,
well, being positive and living up to your potential. I think it's a good one.
I'll do that one then. Let me know if this is if it sounds okay. If it doesn't, sorry guys. See if I can do this live.
Oh, God.
As time flies by, flowing moment to moment, I often stop and wonder just where am I going? And if every single second could be equally vital, I boil down the notion to a simple recital. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. Now is relevant and referential. So everything I do is on my highest potential. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. Unsure what to do? Are you frozen in fear? You're bumbling for clues cause your purpose isn't clear. You're struggling and juggling for some future date, feeling all hope is lost and just sealing your fate. Instead of waiting for the end for your prize to arrive, or hoarding all possessions just trying to survive. Live your best life and be awake in every moment. Eat well and smile more. Yes, I'm a big proponent. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. Wait, I'm not done, guys. Hold on. Every single second is a chance to improve or just be your best self. You got nothing to lose. I'm not trying to sound arrogant or speak as a friend. Just had a simple notion to propel an old trend. This isn't something new, it's been taught many times. From the wisdom of the ancients to my nursery rhymes. And as I wonder why, I get caught in the reflection, realizing my potential from the introspection. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. Now it's relevant and referential. So everything I do is on my highest potential. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential. My highest potential, my highest potential. Everything I do is on my highest potential now. There we go.
I think what's great about that is that both of us had that in our top songs.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that's a workout song for me starting tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah,
right
yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you.
So that song, is that one of your what's your top 3 songs in your own album?
I mean, I like them all. I
mean, they're all like your baby,
So
right?
let's say I'm producing a show at the Saint, and you got 10 minutes to do 3 songs. What are the 3 songs you're showing to people that don't know you? You're new to them. You want to make them Nude Curtis fans. What are your 3?
I think that like for fun's sake, I think that Highest Potential is probably the most catchy, like poppy catchy one. So I mean, and everybody I talk to kind of likes that one. I think that Walk would be one where I could be like, if people want to know if I have lyrical chops, like that would be one. And I don't know. I'd love to play Gangway, but I don't know. Or Fresh Air. I guess I'd pick Fresh Air too. I guess that would be it.
I think if you had a 3-song set, if I was your I would end with Highest Potential, right? When you're at the Saint, what will happen is everybody in the building is going to feel super positive. I got to live to my highest potential. I'm going to go out and be better. And then the minute the lights come on after you leave the stage, you're going to look at the billboard that says $3 Miller High Lifes, and you're like, that's my highest potential tonight. I'll start tomorrow.
Well, no, that is your highest potential. Every single second is a chance to improve or just be your best self. So, like, do you know, just don't feel bad about it, you know? So that's kind of what the message is. And I think it's catchy, like the idea of the song, not that it came from. So I was watching this documentary on Future and his relation to Dungeon Family, like the production, you know, people. And he talks about this song he worked on, like I think it was Tony Montana. And he's just repeating. He's all messed up, and he's just repeating Tony. He's like, that was my mantra. Like, I just felt like it embodied so much. And I'm like, what's my mantra? Like, what would I want to say to somebody, you know? And then like this idea of highest potential with that beat, like I started saying it, and I'm like, that's great, because if people are saying that to themselves, they're like, everything I do is of my highest potential. Like that's what, if you're repeating that to yourself, like that's a positive, it's not just, me, it's like you, that's a positive thing for you to be saying to yourself,
Yeah, no doubt.
I think one of the fun parts about having Music Month here on Totally Local Podcast is that we've been getting to know people's motivation, the music that they love. And we pulled that from what we used to do, which is a show called Top 5, where we talked about the top 5 artists of whatever genre that we had. And so I'm curious to know, who would be Nude Curtis's top 5 hip-hop artists that would influence him?
I mean, number one, the person that influenced me the most, I'd say, about creatively, would have to be the amazing Jimmy Lee, aka Jim Illy, my older brother, who
Oh my
God. he like from when we were little
I had
kids.
no idea that's what you were talking about.
From when we were little kids, like he would always just come up with stuff. He's the one that got me into like hip hop. He was always cooler about it. Like I was always a little more cheesier with my taste and stuff. So that would be number one. I talked about the tubers before. I'm sure you're looking for like famous people, but they definitely influenced, and that whole scene that was out there like definitely influenced me. I mean, from an album, Diggable Planets, like Reaching, like that album is just so awesome. So what is that, 3? 4, I would say that like growing up, the first album that I bought, I think that wasn't like stupid, was probably Fuji's The Score, where like the beats are so like, it's real simple, and like the lyrics, once, I was a little kid, so I was listening to them and I'd be like, wow, there's so many references and layers to it. So is that 4? I need one more. I mean, I guess Jay-Z would be like, he's just so kind of well-rounded, and doesn't get caught up in the minutia, and his like catalog is just overall like, he's just the best.
When I was putting this show together and I was thinking who would be the most perfect co-host to have talking about hip-hop, talking about music, last week of Music Week, and I could not think of anybody else than Mr. Angelo Gingerelli. I know that you, a big fan of music, has to have your top 5. Would you say local? Would you say in general?
Okay, can I go both?
Yeah.
Can I go real quick?
Yeah.
All right, my top 5, as somebody who's kind of known as being into like super underground breaking artists, my top 5 all time are pretty normal picks, right? To me, I think I agree with you about Jay-Z. Yeah. Name your favorite rapper. Jay-Z's got more good songs than he does. His list is longer, right?
Yeah,
and if you're going to be stranded on a desert island to pick one artist to listen to me, it's got to be him because of the variety of songs he's made. He's done everything, right? Yeah. So Jay-Z's number 1 to me. I think, and this might be changing because the last couple of years haven't been great, I'm still a big Eminem guy. Just growing up the way I did in Tom's River. He is what me and my friends were in Tom's River, and just way better at kind of saying it than we ever were. You know what I'm saying? I think Eminem. Then to me, 3 and 4 are Biggie and Tupac. They've been gone for 20 years. They're still on the radio like they had an album out this month. It's an amazing influence they've had, and everybody today, to some extent, is trying to be Biggie or Tupac, in my opinion. I guess I'll go Biggie 3, Tupac 4, because Biggie was clearly a better rapper, but Tupac was more of an icon, right? Yeah. And for me, I think those 4, are bulletproof picks. My number 5 kind of, people come in and out of it, you know what I mean? Like if I'm listening to a lot of LL Cool J, like I'm with my family for the day and he's got all clean songs, LL is my number 5, right? Yeah. If I'm in the car by myself and I'm in North Jersey, Redman's definitely my number 5, right? So my mood on number 5, right now I've been a Redman week, kind of listening to him a lot. He's been a couple podcasts I like. So I guess I'll go Redman at number 5, and he's from Jersey, and he's funny, and he's one of those guys. He's like not funny like the Fat Boys, but funny like Seinfeld, like witty funny, and can also undeniably rap. Okay, that's my top 5. Now I'm gonna give you my top 5 people from New Jersey that if you like totally local stuff, and rappers like Nude Curtis, these guys might be who you like. So I broke it down into 5 different categories, 1 in each category. Because I don't want to get beat up outside House of Independence after the show, putting somebody in front of somebody else. Because most of these guys are, nice, personable young men, but a couple sniffs of Hennessy later and they see me, who knows, that goes left right away. All right, so the guy that I think right now is killing it with just bars, like freestyles, and just press the rewind button every time he raps. He's been on Sway in the Morning and crushed that. Is a guy named Ren Thomas. He's from North Jersey, but he does shows in Asbury all the time. Nice. And great production, and will just out-rap anybody I'm aware of, besides Nude Curtis, of course. But you got a song out this year called Renegades that I think is probably my favorite verse of the year of any artist in any genre. If you're into the old Asbury, like before gentrification happened, west side of the tracks, Asbury, there's a young man named Bulletproof Belv who is loosely affiliated with Fetty Wap's 1738 crew, and he just puts out that I'm kind of scared to watch this video because something might pop off at any second on YouTube kind of music. But he's great at it. He's super great at it. If you're going to a live show, I'm going to put Chris Rockwell out there. And the reason why I put this, Chris does a lot of different things, and his live show is that, right?
Shout out to Chris Rockwell. When is he coming on the show?
I don't know. You just
he even reached out.
Leo, you gotta tell him.
I know. He even reached out and was like, should we do the show? I'm like, yeah, you should do the show.
Yeah, Chris, come on here, man. But why I put Chris as my best live performer at the Jersey Shore is he does things that are more than hip-hop. So you're with a group of people that aren't all hip-hop heads, they can go and have a good time. Like, for example, me and my wife have seen Chris Rockwell live 5 or 6 times. I'm not taking my wife to a Bulletproof Belv show, okay? Best collective out right now, I think Black Suburbia Music Group. It's a singer, Black Suburbia Music Group. They perform almost weekly in Asbury Park, either at the Saint House Independence or Asbury Park Music Foundation. And it's a bunch of young kids. There's singers, there's rappers, there's musicians. They kind of all work together. And then I think there's a kid from my hometown, Toms River, New Jersey, named Fresco. He's part of the ITM, Illinois Most Click. And he is, to me, probably the most likely to blow up out of the scene, only because his music is the closest to what's on the radio right now, right? So I think he's making music that's the right level of commercial and underground. And hopefully get some shows going. He does a thing recently called Fresco Fridays. He listens to music every Friday. And it's all been really good. He can rap. He can sing. He's a good-looking guy that girls will gravitate to. So if I had to put my money on somebody to be like the next guy, I'd probably pick Fresco.
Right on. New Jersey.
We got to get some of these. Man, I got to get some of these people on the show.
Well, this co-host,
I'm gonna start with Chris.
You got to do all this.
I'm going to start with Chris, though.
Yeah. I mean, speaking about like that commercial sound and stuff too, like as far as other people I've been listening to, I think that newer or more popular rappers now kind of they get kind of crapped on a lot, and I think they're making cool music. Like people that my little brother got me into, like Gucci Mane, 2 Chainz, Future, Young Thug, like those guys I really like. I like what they're doing. I think the whole idea of mumble rap is kind of like, when people say that, it's kind of silly. Like if you listen to you can hear it if you understand what they're saying. And the more you listen to it, the more you can understand. And also the beats, like a lot of the songs, even the songs on the radio, like the lyrics might be garbage, but like the beats are they're really good.
Yeah, I don't know if you question. I think too, stylistically, what the exact mumble rappers you said are doing is pretty interesting, right?
Yeah,
even though it might not be something I listen to all the time, you listen to the way a guy like Young Thug or Future combines rapping, singing, auto-tune, post-production. And you're like, all right, this guy probably could win a rap battle against anybody, but the package is bigger than that sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's some out there that aren't good, but there's some out there that are killing it that I don't know. I like a lot.
Did you have a good time on the show today?
This is great. This is super refreshing to sit here and be quiet, and then when somebody asks me a question, then I talk, as opposed to just blathering on the whole time.
It is a different perspective when you have to keep the conversation going the whole time.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had the help of the wonderful Mr. Gingerelli. And I listen, it would not be Top Totally Local Podcast, Top 5 of them said, if we didn't break down the perfect weekend before we head out of here today. What's your perfect weekend look like?
Okay. I would start out Saturday morning, go for a nice long run along the Jersey Shore in Monmouth County. Hit Long Branch, Asbury.
What's a long run? How many miles?
Let's say 5, 6, 7 miles, something like that. What I'll say is this, man. I've run in cities all over the world. I don't think you're getting better than the Jersey Shore Sunrise, getting a run in to start the weekend off. I've seen everything out there. It's still my favorite place in the world to get a run in. As soon as I'm done, I'm hitting Rook Coffee. I'm hitting a recovery coffee and a bagel maybe. After that, going home. My wife and daughter probably awake by then, and we're going to go to Seven Presidents for the day. We're going to play in the park.
Love that beach.
We're going to go to the beach. We're going to go to Tilio's Pizza for lunch and just hang out all day at Seven Presidents. After a full day of that, hopefully a babysitter of some kind is coming over. Me and my wife are heading downtown Long Branch, dinner at Surf Taco, because nothing but the best for my lady. getting a frequent taco card punch, building up to a free meal. And then if things go perfectly, I'm going to hit my favorite bar in Monmouth County, the Brighton Bar, for a set.
Wow.
Not host a show, just do a 5-10 minute set, crush, walk out, get in my wife's car, go down to Asbury, hit the Saint for a second set of the night, and then end up at House of Independence for a hip-hop show. Any of the 5 guys I just listed, plus Nude Curtis, DJ'd by Mike Merrill. That's my way I want to end the night. Take an Uber home, maybe feeling real good on myself, drop a couple freestyles over the Can't Tell Me Nothing instrumental till my wife tells me to shut up, and then call it a night. And then on Sunday, I'm doing nothing.
Well,
that's it. I'm
after
done
that,
after Sunday.
you
After
can't.
Seriously. I think you got a new co-host on your hands.
My perfect weekend, starting off this Friday, I will be at Point Pleasant, Martell's Tiki Bar. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a huge ESPN fan, and ESPN is having their Beach Bash this Friday. From 3 to 7 p.m., Michael K. Show will be there with Don and Peter, Al Leiter, David Cohn, and Jack Curry. So if you want to find me, you can check me out there. But on Saturday, if that is not your thing, on Saturday, check out on 629 from 11 to 9 p.m., Dads and Grads Food Truck Festival. I will always promote a food truck festival. I've been doing it from the day one of this show. I will continue to do it. It is in New Egypt, and it is at Loretta Winery. So have your wine, eat some food trucks, enjoy your morning and your afternoon. And then in the evening on Saturday, check out Bar A in Lake Como, all-day barbecue. And they're also having their Seton Hall alumni reunion. So for everybody who graduated from Seton Hall, like myself, you will find us there having some barbecue. Come on down, hang out, $10 a ticket. On June 29th, following Bar A, we have a show, Stone Pony, Asbury Park, and it is. I'm stalling on saying the name because I know I'm gonna butcher it, and everyone's always telling me I butcher everything. Modest Yahoo.
Modest Yahoo.
Wow,
Yes,
nice.
I have people coming to town. Excited to see him at the Stone Pony. So that is the ESPN Beach Bash on Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. Point Pleasant, Martell's Tiki Bar. And Saturday we have the Dads and Grads Food Truck, Loretta Winery. We have the Bar A Lake Como All Day Barbecue, and then we have Modest Yahoo, Asbury Park, Stone Pony. That is my perfect weekend.
What's a Nude Curtis perfect weekend?
Oh, man.
Not Andrew Talcott, Nude Curtis.
Oh, Nude Curtis? It would start off Friday night getting some enchiladas either at Wancho y Panchos in Bradley Beach, or there's a place called Azteca, which is super small, Mexican place, very low key, owned by straight up like Mexican family. That's
So you're saying not Surf Taco?
No. I love enchiladas though. I love enchiladas. So I'd go get enchiladas at either of those places. The Wancho y Pancho, they have it's hot. It's so good. After that, I would be performing over at the Saint. I'd be doing a whole album release for me and my friends. Hopefully, that I'd have another band with me, maybe Fractal Sasquatch. After closing that out, I would have an after party at Leo's house where things would get debaucherous.
As they do.
As
Wreck
they do.
Leo's house.
Yeah, wreck Leo's house, and then I'd be Ubering home. Hopefully to take a nap for Saturday. Saturday would be a lot of laying around, probably hungover.
I want to thank you guys for coming on. This has been a lot of fun, eye-opening, great episode. If you have not already seen Mr. Angelo Gingerelli, you have to go see him at Brighton Bar on Monday. He is fantastic. He is the host of Comedy Night there, and he does a really great job not only of doing his set, but it's a brilliant comedian when they watch somebody go on stage, they bomb, and whatever topics they were talking about, the host can go up and make jokes better than the comedian on the top of their head, and he kills me every time. He is brilliant. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I can't appreciate that enough, man. Thank you, number one, for coming out. And thank you, number two, for saying that about me. I appreciate the kind words. And I'm going to just keep waiting with bated breath until Andrew shows up.
Oh, well, don't.
Good luck with that. Shout out to Almost Queen on Sunday at the Stone Pony. Thanks, Steve Mitchell, for pointing that out.
And I also want to thank Mr. Nude Curtis to come in here and to do that. I would have died of nerves about 5 minutes in. I could have never done what you've done. The album really is fantastic.
Oh,
You have accomplished something that many people have worked a long time and couldn't get halfway as close as you did. The beats are fantastic. Your voice is very high and it's unnerving in the beginning, but I got used to it. Love you very much, friend of the show. Are you gonna play us something out, or what are you gonna do?
I could play something. You know, I don't want to perform it. I could just put something on.
Sure, yeah.
Let's see what I got here. Let's see. Ooh.
Thank you to Ming, a Shared Universe podcast studio. He did swing in here for a bit and then he left. But thank you very much for always being so kind and generous to Totally Local Podcast. And our next show will not be on Tuesday next week. It'll be on Friday the 5th. So enjoy your July 4th. And we will see you next week doing more Totally Local fun things.
All right. I'm gonna play that song Finish This because it was so funny as this is the one that shout out to Ian Scroggins. He produced this beat. You know, I added a little something to it, but he did all the cool stuff. And it's just funny because the idea is just, you know, finishing something and finishing the album. So, and then we'd finish the podcast. So.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not too loud. Thanks, everybody. Check it out, nudecurtis.com. Stay in touch.
Nude Curtis, Season in Hell, soundtrack for summer 2019.